Hey guys, and welcome back to another discussion video. Today we're going to be talking about a pretty overlooked aspect of Warlords of Draenor and how it might apply to Legion. Thankfully, I think they've got a good chance of staying completely clear of it, and I'm going to cover some nifty ways in which they might do that later on in the video. So what is the problem? Well, as much as I and loads of the other YouTubery folk have talked about how we aren't fans of some of the design decisions that went on with WoD, there was something which was really talked about less, just the quantity of stuff going on. And before this video sounds like a super downer, don't worry, we will be covering some cool, positive stuff soon. Now, at this point, we're all sick and tired of hearing about tanking sub numbers, but I'd like to make the point that I don't think those drops would have happened, or at least wouldn't have happened to the same degree, if there was just more content added and, more importantly, more stuff on the horizon. While many have issues with parts of Mists of Pandaria, it is impossible to deny, because the numbers quite literally say it, that it did manage to hold a stable number of subscribers once its patch cycle got going. Yes, the initial drop-off was quite monumental, but once 5.1, 2, and 3 started to really, kick in, the subscription graph is actually flat. It retains subscribers. I remember one quarter they actually gained a few 100,000. Anyway, in comparison, Warlords of Draenor has a remarkably slow patch cadence, and each patch has a surprisingly small amount of content. So, how can Legion avoid this problem and do its systems easily support the addition of content? First, keeping your content relevant is a major key to success. Even if Warlords of Draenor added 1 million new Apex zones, it probably still wouldn't have helped. So let's go through the main systems of Legion. First of all, dungeons. They're going to be more relevant in terms of rewards and are going to have scalable difficulty and modifier effects, which will change up the gameplay on repeated attempts. This means that the relative value of adding a dungeon is going to be far higher than it was for nearly all of Warlords of Draenor and Mists of Pandaria. Now, this could go in two ways. They could either use this system to squeeze more out of less content, as they did with the Mythic dungeons, or they could, and hopefully, use it as a justification for adding more dungeon content into the game with patches. Given how it is a fresh expansion and a fresh start, and how they have talked about stopping Warlords of Draenor development possibly too early, I think it is very likely that they will choose the latter, and I certainly do hope so. Let's move on to world content. This is a strange one. Currently, we know that there will be quest-like objectives that dynamically spawn in over time. This is an interesting system in that they can expand the pool of spawned events pretty easily without having to develop a whole new framework to contain them. Of course, the key to keeping these relevant is not merely their existence, it's their relevance and what they actually do for you. Currently, they offer artifact power and reputation, and from what we have gathered, might be tied into the drops of some of the world drop legendary items. According to an interview with Final Boss TV, the artifact power can actually be maxed out for your artifact weapon in a few weeks, and there will be additional catch-ups for your other specs. So I've got to question whether this artifact power system is going to be able to keep this world content relevant for a long time. What is for certain, though, is that it's a very expandable system and it's got a solid framework, which is quite a good thing. Actually, I would love to see them do events where objectives that spawn in a zone would be based on a theme. So perhaps one weekend it could be the, whatever faction invasion in a certain zone. And maybe from that you would get some unique rewards, unique, bosses, items, etc. to grab people's attention. That would make for a pretty cool patch feature that would breathe new life into the system, especially if it involved some really unique mechanics. But that is, of course, a what if, therefore it doesn't really mean that much. So while all of these missions are cool, one of my concerns is that they lack context. No matter how many of them that you add, it won't matter if it all boils down to killing a few mobs in the area for some of a random currency. So while this system has wonderful potential, the worry is whether we will get lots of narrative content to go along with it. Patches would have to bring in narrative content similar to what 5.1 and 5.2 did. Hopefully they decide to do that, though it certainly does seem like world content will be in a better state than it was in Warlords of Draenor, which is very good for the overall quantity of content in this expansion and, of course, the quality as well. Old world stuff is a pretty major point of interest for me. Simply put, there is lots of content there that could be used in an adventure mode-esque system. The inclusion of burning Legion invasions in the alpha is super heartening. I just hope they do more with it. Now, also the class order halls support the addition of new content such as class quests, class-specific dailies, and a few other things. That's all well and good, but, this is a really important point, garrisons were well positioned to receive post-launch content, and look how that turned out. Did we get a level 4 garrison? Did we get a whole bunch of new levels for our buildings? Did we get new buildings? I mean, technically the shipyard's a building, but you get my drift. No, we didn't. So while the systems could be there to support the addition of new content, the addition actually needs to happen. So what have we established here? Well, there are a number of systems that are designed in such a way so that bulking them up in future patches would be super feasible. On paper, that is great, but Warlords was in a super similar position. Apexis dailies could have been added by the bucket load. Harrison Jones could have had 10 times the quests. The garrison could have driven twice the world content. The problem is, the patches never came. And that brings me on to the quote from J. Allen Brack, which I'll put up on the screen.
Yeah, one of the thoughts that we had was we wanted to really decrease the amount of time between the expansion, and so we ended up doing something we feel like at the end was probably a mistake, which is kind of not having the breadth of content, the breadth of different kind of patches that we've had over the course of the years, over the course of previous years. So that's definitely something that we want to change with Legion. We want to have. We don't know exactly how many things we're going to do, but we definitely want to have a different strategy with regard to the different kind of content things that we're doing.
I read his response as a little bit of an admission of guilt when it comes to the Warlords post-launch support. It actually reminds me of a video that I did over a year ago in which I said that an expansion that was planned to last a year would lose its unique patch. What do I mean by unique patch? Well, patch 5.2 is the perfect example. It had brand new art assets and a number of pretty new systems. Patches like patch 5.2 were developed before the art team had moved their main workload over to the next expansion, and that meant that it had, its own art, its own unique stuff. And that's actually the reason why, say, patch 5.4 reused the Jade Forest tile set. There was just no time to make new art. And I think that having a big patch like that in the middle of an expansion that contains a new tile set, a big new story, some really cool stuff like that, and a strong set of new features is really important to bulking up the content of the expansion. Certainly you can see that 5.2 had a great effect on Mist of Pandaria subnumbers. Patch 6.2 in comparison, though, had just the shipyard, which is a very blatant copy of the follower mission system, and Tanan Jungle, which really was just another set of Apexis missions. Time Walking and Mythics, while they are pretty great, were just number scales. So anyway, assuming that J. Allen Brack's words prove to be true, I think there is a good chance that Legion will avoid the major problems that Warlords of Draenor had. My personal opinion is that I think they've learned, and I think we will see better stuff. However, my professional opinion cannot be that, because that is what's going to inform people to make a purchase decision, and at the end of the day, I don't think I can ethically say, everyone, pre-order Legion, do all your stuff, give Blizzard all the microtransactions, woohoo, Legion is great, buy everything, it's all going to be brilliant. As much as that would probably be good for my YouTube channel, it would probably be, what Blizzard would want me to do. At the end of the day, we've got to just wait and see, and that's the most fair way to do it. So there are my thoughts on this issue in Warlords, and hopefully moving forward. That's it for me, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and what kind of patch features in previous patches were you really into? What kind of stuff would you like to see them do in Legion? Hit me up on Twitter or leave it down in the comments. Either way, thank you very much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.